Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Tables, Ladders, and Podcasts, the only podcast with an exploding butt. This is episode 146, The Search for episode 145. I am your host, as always, Poit, and joining me on the panel to discuss the week in WWE, we have Wehrman.
Hello.
And Jabba.
In case you're wondering why I'm wearing a hat, it's because I'm an honorary member of the League of Nations tonight. I have no heat.
Wow.
Zing.
Okay, so Jabba, I have to take a little bit of umbrage with the episode number. Since we didn't record last week, shouldn't this be episode 145?
Technically, you may be correct on that one, Mr. Poit.
Well, yes, I know I am.
Technically, yes. If you want to get into the realm of technicalities, then yes. So, news.
Yes, news. Just a couple of bits. The biggest and I think most interesting, WWE has officially announced the location for WrestleMania 33 next year. Not in Minnesota, as was rumored months ago, but is actually going to be in Orlando, Florida. Coinciding with this is their announcement of a physical location for the WWE Hall of Fame, also in Orlando, expected to open the weekend of Mania.
Wow.
So that's kind of cool. They're doing, I guess they want to have the Hall of Fame and the Performance Center in kind of the same area.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I really thought you were going to say the fall of Haim for a second there. I thought it was going to be some kind of documentary.
Yeah, it's the downfall of Corey Haim.
Yeah. Physical building is a good idea. It's about time, though, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. I have heard it's going to be like another restaurant kind of deal, like the WWE New York thing was.
Is that still a thing?
No.
Okay.
No, that went under years ago.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Will they let Mark Henry actually have his own little Hall of Pain just next to it?
I hope so.
Like a little outhouse or something.
I am
Yeah.
so if they have like some sort of restaurant attached to the Hall of Fame, they have to have some sort of menu section or menu item that is like horribly spicy food called the Hall of Pain.
Yes, that's actually a really good idea. Here's a question for you and Jabba. How likely is it that y'all would be able to afford a trip to Orlando next year?
I can.
Slim, but you never know.
Yeah. I'll
Because
say,
that's only, what, a state away from you?
yeah, I mean, it's a pretty long
Constance?
drive. I might just fly, because it's about a 10-hour drive, because I've got to go through the entirety of the state of Alabama and most of the state of Florida to get to
Okay.
Orlando. But
To get to the state of inebriation required
Yeah.
for WrestleMania viewing.
But I would actually really like to be able to do that if we can swing it. Go to Mania, see the Hall of Fame, see like whatever crazy ass thing they do with like the NXT takeover on Mania weekend.
Oh my gosh.
I thought you were saying you were on the brink of only watching Lucha Underground from now on.
I am and I'm not. I'm like Schrodinger's fan.
I
Like,
think
I'm
the
always-
idea of being able to go to a nearby WrestleMania has Case hoping that the next year of wrestling will be good enough for him to want to go to WrestleMania.
Yeah, and I mean, hell, some of the stuff that happened on Raw kind of gave me hope.
How would you
There
feel
was some
though,
good stuff on Raw this week.
if the
Yeah.
night after this WrestleMania they announced that next year it's going to be thrice in a lifetime?
I would be very upset.
I assume that would possibly temper your enthusiasm a little bit.
And you know who else has been very upset lately? Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan's lawsuit against Gawker has had a pretty fair share of interesting moments thus far. Allegedly, questions during jury selection included whether candidates were emotionally affected by Hogan slamming Andre the Giant or by his heel turn in WCW. And more amusingly, when cross-examined as per Gawker's claim that Hogan had been public about his sex life in the past, he claimed that this was basically done in kayfabe, exaggerating the number of women he had slept with as well as the size of his genitals. Thus, it is now a matter of public record that Hulk Hogan has a 10-inch penis, but Terry Bollea does not. So,
Okay, Wehrman, there is something I have to ask you. I'm going to put the camera on you a second. In the
Sure.
top left of your screen, it looks like the Ultimate Warrior is standing looking in your doorway. Or out of a closet or something.
What?
oh, yeah.
I imagine it's because
Yeah, he
it's so
didn't die,
blurry, but
he's just
that's
been
exactly
hanging
how
out.
it looks. It's pretty spooky.
I've been haunted by the ghost of Distrusity.
Anyway, any other news?
Just two other bits. AAA star Garza Jr., the nephew to former WCW wrestler Hector Garza, will be working a WWE tryout camp this month in the hopes of getting a developmental deal with the company. It's believed that he's going to be one of the wrestlers featured in this summer's Global Cruiserweight Series, and that his cousin, currently working under the name Ultimo Ninja, will be joining him at the tryout. So that's kind of cool. And also, despite rumors and speculation to the contrary, John Cena has confirmed he will not be competing at this year's WrestleMania. This is the first time in 11 years that Cena has missed the show.
I think it's
Which
probably for
is
the best,
insane.
given that it would probably cause some damage to him if he was to try to push himself this much to make it back for
Yes.
Mania.
As much as I dislike John Cena, the character, and as much as I dislike how Cena has been used to kind of smash down the hopes of anything ever changing or being interesting on the show, I don't want physical harm to come to the guy. I don't want to see him actually, have to retire or have to, spend the rest of his life in a wheelchair or something like that. So I'm very glad he's taking the proper amount of time off to rehabilitate.
Yeah, this isn't JBL we're talking about here.
Yeah, it's a matter of public record. The only person I genuinely wish actual harm upon is JBL.
Any other news items? News nuggets floating around in the sea of...
Did hear a rumor that they're talking about bringing back the Super J Cup.
What is that?
That
New
sounds like a really, really big bra.
Okay, New Japan, announced the return of the Super J Cup this year. I don't see exactly when it's going to be, but it's the first time since 2009 that they've done this. It's a big tournament between all of the big promotions in Japan. So Pro Wrestling Noah is going to be there. Who else? Ring of Honor is actually going to be a part of it this year too. This was a huge tournament for junior heavyweights. It was a huge deal in the mid-90s especially, because this is where guys like Chris Jericho, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Rey Mysterio Jr., all of them first got noticed on a international scale was by competing in the Super J Cup tournament. So with them bringing this back, that could actually be really interesting.
Indeed. Is that the limit of the news this week?
I have a news item.
Oh.
Okay.
So, you guys remember Rhino, the guy in NXT does the gore?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that guy.
Rings the bell.
He is running for the State House of Representatives in Michigan.
Well, they should probably get out of the way.
I'd vote for him. I don't know his platform, other than that he'll spear me through it if I don't vote for him.
Is there any way sometime in the future he could team up with Al Gore?
There is a pretty amazing picture of him on FoxSports.com where Rhino is wearing like a mustard-colored suit and a bow tie.
That's amazing. I kind of hope he'd just come out with the singlet, just...
Well, any other news? Or
not really.
We run the news nebula dry, as it were.
Yes.
Sure, let's continue using that weird metaphor.
It's better than the alternative.
Okay.
I guess.
Shall we move on to our talking points for the week? Some of them may have slight lingering effects from last week as well. a couple of things just didn't really feature this week. For example, we didn't see The Undertaker, but we're still wondering exactly why he is doing Vince McMahon's bidding. Does anyone have any
apparently
theories
because
yet?
Vince McMahon has his gong.
Well, all right. In real life, Taker is known like backstage and for being insanely loyal to Vince. Like he's basically like back when he was still an active competitor, Vince more or less made him the king of the locker room because he was the only guy during the Monday Night War who never even thought about jumping ship. So it was pretty well known that like people would have to go to Taker before ever running things past Vince and things like that. So that might be a part of it. They've kind of said so much on the show that The Undertaker is Vince's greatest creation, so there's almost like a Frankenstein's monster thing going on with it.
Didn't Frankenstein's monster turn on Dr. Frankenstein?
Yes.
Okay.
Eventually. And by eventually, I mean, like, pretty quick.
Yeah.
Maybe Vince has got his hands on The Undertaker's phylactery.
Could be.
That's going to be my theory.
Yeah.
Or does Vince have something on him? Something really incriminating, even worse than what Shane has on him.
I don't know. After Wehrman's explanation a few weeks ago, I don't think anything could be worse than what Shane potentially has on Vince.
Yeah, like, okay, did you ever see True Detective?
No.
Nope.
Okay, well, never mind then, because
Well, that
watch some TV, damn it.
Well, on the subject of Vince, he is a terrible human being, apparently. And he is really driving that point home, particularly this week. Last week he claimed he was going to write Shane out of his will. This week he destroyed that beautiful family portrait.
Mm-hmm.
Is there no depths that Vince will not stoop to?
There are no depths to which Vince will not stoop.
Yeah, I think longtime viewers will know Vince McMahon is literally the worst person who ever lived.
Short-term viewers probably also have learned this by now.
But I mean, the last couple of years when we've seen Vince, he's kind of just been like kindly old Grandpa Vince who swaggers down and here's a match you want to see at WrestleMania, huh? And then like Stephanie and Triple H will get all the heat. But I like that they're reinforcing. He's like, no, Vince McMahon is evil. This guy is a horrible, horrible, horrible person. You want to see him lose.
I'm thinking what else he could do. Next week he could run over Shane with a car, and then into his unconscious mouth he could shove like all of Shane's baby teeth.
Okay.
That's kind of disturbing.
A lock of his hair from his first ever haircut when he was a tiny child as well. Like maybe his birth certificate, his first school report or something.
Okay, so what we've learned here is not to get on Jabba's bad side.
Yes.
Yes. So, Vince is a terrible human. Someone who isn't a terrible human, by all accounts, is Sami Zayn. And he's back.
He
to
is.
Take on a terrible human. In the kayfabe sense, at least, in Kevin Owens.
Yeah, I was so excited when Sammy's music hit. Like, go ahead. I was gonna say, like, first of all, it's just a really good, like, get you excited to watch a wrestling match music anyway, because it's so, like, upbeat. And secondly, Sammy and Kevin Owens is, honest to God, I think one of the greatest feuds in the history of wrestling. Like, if you trace it all the way back through, like, the Indies, through NXT, and now, like, it's up there with, like, Raven and Dreamer, Angle and Benoit, Hart and Michaels.
On that basis, are you surprised that they've been allowed to continue it on the main roster?
Kind of, because I figured they would... I figured they would bump into each other again, but they would spend some time, like, building Sami Zayn up before putting him against Owens. I love that there's no what's the word I'm looking for? There's no like setup. There's no like, oh, we're gonna like feel each other out and kind of like have like a long extended reaction. Sami Zayn shows up. Kevin Owens is like, no, fuck you, and they just start throwing fists at each other. Beautiful. Just instant hate. These two hate each other to the point where as soon as they are in the same room, they are just trying to destroy each other.
It is quite funny, Sami Zayn's music, though, being used as like this vengeful spirit theme.
Yeah.
It's a bit too upbeat and happy for that.
I do love that so far Sami Zayn has just been haunting Kevin Owens on the main roster. Throwing him out of the Rumble, showing up to keep him from beating up Neville. It's really fun, and I can't wait to see them wrestle.
So before Raw, the dude on Reddit who will sometimes make posts saying like, "Hey, something's happening tonight. You should watch Raw." He said that there would be another surprise on Raw this week, but it would be a bit more generic than Shane's return. And so a lot of people were like, "Oh, El Generico, it's going to be Sami Zayn." And as soon as the first match was Kevin Owens versus someone, then it was just I just knew it's going to be Zayn saving that person from Owens after the match.
Can we talk for a minute about how fucking awesome that match was, though, between Kevin Owens and Neville? Holy shit!
And I do want to say it was not the only awesome match on Raw.
Oh no, there was some damn good stuff this week. But this was like usually when we'll see a match on NXT and they just tear the house down, then we'll see a version of it on Raw that isn't as good and it's always disappointing. Like Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch. On NXT, they had one of the best matches of the year. So far on Raw, they're just kind of like, we'll wrestle like a watered-down version of that for 5 minutes, and one of us will get rolled up.
They had a double pin.
Okay, yeah. But Owens and Neville had the match that we've wanted to see them have. Like, they never really had the big blow-off match on NXT.
They had a match on NXT.
They did, but not like a huge, like, not like Owens' matches with Finn Balor.
Okay.
They've never had the definitive match that those two can do.
Yeah, that match they just had was it was what I wanted to see like a year ago.
It's the kind of thing that Neville actually needs to be doing on the main roster. They've really messed him around, haven't they, for the last year or however long it's been now.
Yeah, it's been about a year since he debuted.
So the issue with Neville, I'll say, is he either puts on a good match and then loses in a singles match, or he teams with the Lucha Dragons and then lets Kalisto do all the flashy stuff for most of the match and then gets the one with the red arrow.
Yeah, and they haven't really put him in any kind of interesting program. They keep wanting him to feud with Stardust because he's kind of like a superhero, maybe, even though he's not.
The last time I bought into Neville as like a real threat was when it looked like he was about to beat John Cena for the U.S. title.
Yeah. So this is a guy who could really benefit from a long-standing feud with somebody like Kevin Owens. Or even, somebody else who needs rehabilitating. How about Adrian Neville spends about a month feuding with Bray Wyatt? That would be a great fucking feud.
Who actually gets to lose?
Well, hey, look, both of them are damn good workers. Adrian Neville can't really talk all that well, but Bray Wyatt is a fucking amazing talker.
Mm-hmm.
And the match between the two, I think, would be incredibly entertaining.
Well, the thing is, one of them would have to win. Because at the moment, they're both kind of like crabs in the bucket of the WWE, aren't they? And it's once one tries to climb out, it's really difficult. But if they're working together and one of them actually accepts, okay, I'm going to lose, let's have that guy win the feud, then maybe one of them can escape out of that bucket.
Well, I mean, hell, look at Dean Ambrose spent most of 2015 just kind of floundering, not really doing anything important, and now he is far and away the most popular guy in the show. So
he has a title match this Saturday.
Yeah. it's not impossible to rehabilitate these guys almost immediately. They just need to be interested in doing so.
That is usually the slight issue they run into.
But seriously, okay, Kevin Owens breaking out that double jump moonsault, that was beautiful.
He does that move occasionally, and he never actually hits it.
I know. It's like when Vader used to try and moonsault people. He almost never hit it. But then, okay, Neville responding with a second rope Phoenix splash? Jesus Christ.
I think second rope's a bit too much, though. I want to see him do just a regular standing Phoenix splash.
A standing Phoenix splash?
Yeah.
Is that physically possible?
If anyone can do it, it's Neville.
I mean, maybe if he borrows the Lucha Dragons like little springboard they used to get into the ring.
Mm.
I don't know. I think standing's the way to go. So you mentioned Bray Wyatt a second ago. We had a little glimpse into a very bright future that we'll probably never get on Raw when he laid his hands on that WWE Championship on Triple H's shoulder. He looked almost mesmerized, but I think he had his tongue sticking out in its direction at one point. Do you think that's just taunting us with something we'll never have?
I don't think so. Because, okay, I'm pretty sure Vince doesn't really care about Bray Wyatt, but I think Triple H does. Because the couple of times they've interacted, Triple H kind of went out of the way to not bury Bray. I mean, in the Royal Rumble, like, they faced off for a minute, and Bray just slapped the shit out of Triple H. Triple H never really got his comeuppance from that. And this time, Bray, stares down Triple H again, just kind of paws at the title for a minute, and then just is like, all right, see you later. And I love that the Wyatts are not aligning with the Authority. Like, it makes perfect sense for them to be antagonistic towards each other when you really look at like what Bray Wyatt's character is. He's this megalomaniac psycho who's always talking about tearing down the system. He's just as dangerous to the Authority as Dean Ambrose is.
If not more, because Dean Ambrose doesn't have 3 giant monsters as these.
It's just a matter of as long as the Authority can keep Bray Wyatt interested in going after people like Ambrose or Cena or somebody else who might be a threat to the Authority, they don't really have to deal with them. But sooner or later, the Wyatts are going to turn against the Authority, and that's going to be really interesting.
Unless somebody hands Eric Rowan a Rubik's Cube.
Yeah, that's possible. But, okay, listen to the reaction that Wyatt got when staring down with Triple H. Even after all the crap they've put Bray Wyatt through the last 2 years, after making him out to be just a total jobber, just that moment where he's just laughing at Triple H and just saying, I'm coming for that sooner or later, have your fun. That instant, he was immediately over again, in a huge way.
I think people aren't going to forget that they were entertained by him and that they were enthralled by his promos and his general antics for a while. It just got old because he had no direction. People haven't just forgotten how much they loved.
That's the thing. You give him a direction. You put somebody against him that actually really works, instead of just like, well, the Undertaker's kind of spooky and I'm kind of spooky, so we'll fight. Oh goodness, I lost again. Oh well. But you put him against somebody who has like an actual like thematic difference between them. Somebody like people like the Authority. AJ Styles would be a great opponent for Bray Wyatt. Because you have, AJ Styles is this clean-cut family man, he's a devout Christian, and here's this man who is a satanic cultist whose family are these monsters that he's brainwashed into doing his bidding. I feel like they should be on a course against each other at some point.
And presumably we'd get a very entertaining, probably a SmackDown match between AJ Styles and Luke Harper, which would be quite fun.
Ooh.
That'd be something to tune in for.
Yeah, WWE, make that happen. Don't shit the bed with Bray Wyatt any more than you already have. Don't shit the bed with AJ Styles. Then have them fight each other. It will rule.
So, on the subject of AJ Styles, Y2 AJ.
Yeah, that didn't work out.
Yeah, the team of the future. The future being around about a week. They even had T-shirts and everything.
Yeah, they really went all in on this just to undo it.
Immediately. So does this mean we're going to get AJ Styles versus Chris Jericho Part 17 at WrestleMania?
You know, I'm actually okay with that. Because the matches they've had so far have been awesome.
Progressively better each time as well.
Yeah.
What if instead they have a match at Roadblock?
That could also happen. But what I love is, like, they seem to be kind of fast-forwarding through AJ Styles fighting all of the different incarnations of Chris Jericho. Because the first time they fought...
Not yet being kicked in the testicles.
Not yet. But, okay, they first had him fight sort of the Y2J Chris Jericho, like the late 90s, like, Ayatollah of rock and rolla. That Chris Jericho. Then they had him fight, like, the later kind of, like, bitter has-been version of Chris Jericho. Then they team up because Chris Jericho is tag team champions with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's fighting, like, the bitter 2007 to 2010 best in the world at everything I do Chris Jericho, which is the best Chris Jericho.
I was definitely a fan of the 2001 larger-than-life living legend Chris Jericho.
Oh yeah. But it's like we're watching a DVD set from a parallel universe where AJ Styles signed up to WWE in like 2003, and he's been arch enemies with Chris Jericho for years and years and years, and we're just
watching like a time hop through that.
Yeah, I want that. I want to see that it was like, here's them having their Hell in a Cell match, here's their epic Iron Man match, here's them in this like crazy no holds barred street fight match.
Here's the triple threat match they had with John Cena where they were both pinned at the same time after a double AA.
Yeah, that will definitely happen at some point. But seriously, like, this feels like the greatest feud of the 2000s that didn't actually happen. And I kind of love it.
So if they are possibly going to have a match at Roadblock, then what would they be doing like the week before WrestleMania when they have WWE Diversion?
Wait, what? You're making this up, right?
I don't think they're really going to do.
Stop.
Yeah, but what's the deal with them putting all these extra stops on the road to WrestleMania now?
I don't know, but I do kind of feel like Roadblock is like the here's the WrestleMania you actually wanted. We're really sorry, guys.
I believe that due to low ratings and such, in order to properly pay for WrestleMania, they had to add some tolls along the road.
Although if they're in the fast lane and now they've hit a roadblock, that sounds really dangerous.
Yep.
That's true.
They should have just like WWE pit stop, WWE tourist trap.
If they bring back the Nasty Boys for WWE pit stop, that would be amazing.
Oh, God.
The entire pay-per-view schedule, save for Survivor Series and Royal Rumble and SummerSlam.
WWE, are we there yet? WWE, if you don't stop talking, so help me, I will turn this car around.
Yeah, so WWE toll road, but WrestleMania is free.
Also, just kind of go back to the initial topic of the Y2AJ effort. Hot damn that match between the New Day. That was so fun, and the crowd was super hot for it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the crowd was Chicago.
Yeah, that's the thing. God, I love when they go to like big wrestling towns like that. Chicago is always fun. Philadelphia is usually fun. Although for some reason they love to try and get away with doing the most Vince McMahon bullshit possible in Philadelphia, the one place that will hate it more than anywhere else in the country.
The thing is, you shouldn't be able to kind of write off a crowd by saying, well, it was wrestling fans at a wrestling event. You can't read that much into it.
No. Okay.
It's a strange state of affairs. That certain towns, you consider them to be like real wrestling fans, so you can't trust what they think because all the other places in America are going to be completely indifferent to it because they're not wrestling fans, but they're still showing up to the events for some reason. It's weird. Don't you think?
Yes.
Now, back to this match. I do want to say, Big E looked amazing in this match. So, like, I just want to point out, the match ended when a, what was it, 6-time world champion tried to hit his finisher, and Big E just noped out of it and hit his own finisher instead.
Yeah, it's, Big E was almost a main event guy, and that match reminds us why.
Mm-hmm.
Because he can fucking go.
If you remember the really great, like, 3-minute matches Big E got out of Rusev, they were a lot of fun, and they showed us, actually, there is something in this Big E guy that we haven't really seen because he's just been a henchman and then obviously gone on into this more comedy team gimmick. But there is something under that exterior. There is a pretty solid wrestler in there.
Yes.
Yeah.
I also rather enjoyed the E-train he hit on Jericho to stop the walls.
Yeah, that was really nice.
So,
but I mean, from everyone, it was a great showing. Like,
Yeah.
At one point, I think someone was pinning someone else, and then like Jericho just bowled through the fourth guy to break up the pin.
Yeah.
Like, you never see that happen.
Okay, that bit where Jericho goes for the lion salt, and AJ like tags himself in right when he was doing it,
Mm-hmm.
and then AJ hits that springboard 450.
Okay, no, not the springboard 450 is not the one I want to talk about. The springboard, like, inverted DDT.
Yes!
Like, holy crap!
That is one of the coolest moves. Just period.
Okay, so I think we can probably stop just, like, geeking out over this match and say it was a really fucking good match.
now, before we go on,
Yes.
you know the master of wit that we always have in our resident commenter, Owen Brown?
Oh dear.
He's actually come out with another nugget, and I'm not even going to explain this joke on the air because I'm not sure it's appropriate. But we were listing like different road stops that WWE could have as their events before
Oh,
WrestleMania.
no.
Owen Brown suggests WWE Sheets.
WWE Sheets bathroom.
A handful of people will get that, but thankfully our audience is mainly that handful of people, so we should be okay. Now, moving on. WrestleMania is free, apparently, for new subscribers. Do you think that's a sign of sheer desperation because they really need this WrestleMania to do well and they don't have anything to sell it with other than an aging Shane McMahon?
Didn't they do the same thing last year where new subscribers got the month for free?
Did they do it with WrestleMania last year?
I know they did it for Fastlane. They've done it for a couple of big pay-per-views. I think they did it for SummerSlam and Survivor Series.
Fastlane is not a big pay-per-view.
No, well, I mean, they did it for SummerSlam and they did it for Survivor Series.
Did they do it for the Royal Rumble once, maybe?
Possibly. I don't remember if they did it for Mania.
It seems odd, because
Yeah.
surely that should be the time of the year that you're trying to get everybody's money. You've been building up for the rest of the year, enticing people to spend their money on WrestleMania. But obviously their business model has drastically changed with the network.
Mm-hmm. I mean, subscriber numbers are basically their main metric of success right now.
Do we know whether their subscriber numbers are down or up recently?
Their subscriber numbers are not what they want them to be.
Same could be said for their ratings, I imagine. Although we didn't have a news item on their ratings, so presumably they didn't hit like a 15-year low this week, which is newsworthy in itself.
No, it was... Yeah. It was slightly down, but it wasn't, like, catastrophically down.
Right, so it wasn't like, what was that terrible year? Was it like 95?
Last year.
Okay, that too. So, Ryback. That guy just won't shut up.
Oh my god, that fucking promo. Okay, first of all, I loved that the Ryback apparently lives in the real life. Did anyone else catch that?
I did
Like,
not.
but this isn't a movie. This isn't a movie. This is the real life. I was like, and he just would not stop fucking talking about.
I would actually like if like it became incorporated into his gimmick to just prepend to places that should not go.
He should just go like full Starfire, and just add like random articles on every other word he says.
Would that
I'm
make
okay
him
with this.
entertaining? They really haven't learned yet that Ryback needs to shut up and just beat people up.
Yeah, same with Roman Reigns. They have this weird idea that people watch wrestling to see talkers. And while being a good talker certainly helps, not everybody needs to be a talker. Ryback does not need to be a talker. Roman Reigns doesn't need to be a talker. AJ Styles doesn't need to be a talker.
Interestingly, with AJ Styles, they understood not to make him a talker.
Yeah, but then they get these like big lumbering oafs who they just assume they can be able to teach how to act, and it's just painful. Also, are they gonna have a match with him and Kalisto or not? Like, what was that all about?
I'm assuming they're going to do some sort of U.S. title match there.
I guess.
Whatever's happened with Kalisto, rumor has it that he is completely done with the Del Rio feud now. I read that somewhere this week.
Christ. Please, no more League of Nations. Just
Well, shall we go on to our next talking point, which is worded, League of Nations suck monkey balls.
I believe, actually, they are hot garbage.
Hot garbage.
In fact, this Saturday at Roadblock, there's a tag title match between the League of Nations and the New Day.
The League
wonder how
of
that's
Booty.
going to turn out.
If they actually changed the name to the League of Booty and they all did like the Big E dance, that might be the only way you can salvage them at this point.
What's crazy? Okay, all four members of the League of Nations have been main eventers. Sheamus, for all of his failings, can still really work.
And he was kind of world champion a few weeks ago.
Yeah, he was world champ. He's been world champion multiple times. Del Rio has won multiple world titles. Wade Barrett at one point was the top heel in the company. Rusev came out in a goddamn tank at WrestleMania to fight John Cena. And now all of them are just jokes. And jokes that aren't even funny. Like, okay, I still think everybody in the League of Nations, apart from maybe Del Rio, still has value. But the League of Nations itself is beyond worthless. It needs to go away. Fast.
The League of Nations is definitely lower in quality than the sum of its parts, which is something a stable should not be aspiring to be under any circumstances. If you look at the New Day, for example, I would say that the idea of the New Day and the execution of that is far greater than just having those three guys on their own on the roster. And then you look over at the League of Nations and you think, I was actually entertained by Rusev and Barrett and maybe not so much the other guys recently.
Maybe not so much the other guys.
Yeah, but some of them have been entertaining at various points, and now they're just lumped into this ball of bleh.
Yeah.
It's horrible. Monkey balls, indeed. So,
And, I mean, they look just pathetic on the show, too. They can't even beat Dolph Ziggler 3-on-1 without losing one of their guys. Like, at least when the Wyatts lose a big match, it's against a big opponent. You know? Like, yeah, Bray Wyatt lost most of his big feuds, but they were against Cena and The Undertaker and Roman Reigns. They weren't just like, he wasn't just getting his ass beat by Dolph Ziggler.
I don't remember Bray Wyatt taking too many losses to Adam Rose over the years.
Mm-hmm.
So, speaking of monkey balls, by the way, Roman Reigns obviously is their number one guy. But why isn't it Dean Ambrose? Isn't he just proving right now that he should have been the chosen one all along?
Yeah, holy shit. Like, the main event of Roadblock is the main event that should be topping WrestleMania. And instead, he's going to be relegated once again to being Roman Reigns' damsel in distress.
Yep. Well, here's the guy who just maybe hit Dean Ambrose in the head with a sledgehammer. Now here's the guy who's going to avenge that. You should cheer for him, maybe, if you want to. A little. No? Okay.
It's the Daniel Bryan thing all over again. It's this guy who is super over with the crowd, who the fans are 100% behind, and Vince is like, no, you don't want that guy. You want this guy because he looks like a superstar. And because Vince is so dead set on telling us what we want, we absolutely refuse it. We probably would have accepted Roman Reigns as a main event guy by now if they hadn't been so dead set on pushing him over Daniel Bryan at Fastlane, over everybody else throughout all of 2015, over Dean Ambrose now.
The people were quite prepared for Roman Reigns to be a main event guy when it was down to him and Batista in that Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
We were firmly behind Roman Reigns, but then as soon as they heard that, and we had like a full year and now 2 years of them just trying to shove Roman Reigns down all of our collective throats. What is the reason, do you think, that they refuse to pick Dean Ambrose as the guy in the face of all this backlash?
It's because he doesn't have the look, and WWE is obsessed with finding people who have the look, even though their biggest period, like their biggest boom period, all of their top guys didn't have the look. I mean, Austin, a bald-headed redneck in black trunks, that's the look of a superstar. Mankind, a shaggy, chubby freak in a Hannibal Lecter mask. The Undertaker, a satanic wizard. None of those guys say WWE superstar, but they were the faces and the flagship of their defining era. Hell, go back to the last boom period, the Hulkamania era. You telling me a bald guy with a biker mustache is the prototypical WWE superstar? But no, Vince has this idea that you have to build your company around somebody who's built like a superhero. So that's why we had 12 years of John Cena defeating way more interesting people, and why we're getting set for another 12 years of Roman Reigns defeating way more interesting people, because he looks the part.
I think it was slightly later into John Cena's rise that he suffered the fan backlash there, wasn't it? Roman Reigns has had it right from the very beginning, as soon as they sensed that he was being pushed in that direction. Because at least when Cena was on the up, there were alternatives around. I mean, Lesnar was still there at the time.
Oh, well, also, during Cena's initial push, wasn't he also didn't he also have, for one, a more appealing gimmick than Roman Reigns, like the whole rapper thing? His finishing moves had like edgy names, like the FU.
Well, he had a gimmick, so that's a start. Definitely a step up on whatever Roman has at the moment. He's still kind of that guy clinging to the Shield. It should be.
Yeah, he's still wearing Shield gear. He still has the Shield's music.
That could be a gimmick in itself if he can't let the past go.
Yeah,
He's just clinging to it.
Except every time they've brought it up, he's the one who doesn't care. Like he's constantly smirking and shrugging things off and acting like he's too cool to be effective. And that is another reason Dean Ambrose has eclipsed him. Dean Ambrose cares a fucking lot. He cares so much about what he's doing that he will gladly get the shit kicked out of him week after week by Brock Lesnar, by Triple H, by the Wyatt family, because he genuinely cares about what he's doing. Roman doesn't give a shit. He's detached from it. He's above it all. And if the main character doesn't care about the story you're telling, why the fuck should the audience?
Is it quite accurate to say Roman Reigns doesn't care?
I think so.
As a real man, he may care, but as the character he portrays, he's obviously told not to show any signs of weakness or caring or vulnerability.
Yeah. And so nothing he does resonates.
The one time he actually seemed like he cared was when he went nuts on Triple H and just annihilated him.
Yeah.
And that was the one time the crowd
You mean
really...
the week that we liked him?
Yes,
Yeah.
oddly enough.
It's the thing, like, I would be so much more behind Roman Reigns if that was the Roman Reigns we were getting on a week-to-week basis. Somebody who is motivated, who is frustrated by people screwing him over, somebody who wants to just prove that he is the best at what he does. You know, like Daniel Bryan was, like Stone Cold Steve Austin was, like any wrestler with any forward momentum and any connection with the crowd ever was. Like you can't be cool just by having people tell you that he's cool.
Right now, he's the closest thing to Poochie, definitely, isn't he? I know The Miz used to have that name. But
Well,
He's
what
very
what
cool.
is coolness other than a status ascribed to something by people?
I think it's which people are saying that he is cool. It's people who aren't really in touch with what is cool deciding that he is. And
Okay.
then telling you that he is when really you can see that he is not. So, in other news, Curtis Axel made a notable sound this week.
He did.
Yes, he
He
did.
did.
What's up with that?
That's a way of putting it.
You know, okay, the social outcasts are such a weird thing. Like, they're not quite as, like, lovably weird as the New Day, but, like, whatever they've got going, they have, like, an old school, like, improv group yes and mentality to whatever they're doing. Like, one of them will just say something completely fucking weird, and then everyone's like, oh, you know what? Let's just go with it. Let's just go with it. And there's something I kind of love about that.
None of them are horrible performers, by any means.
Oh no!
So,
Like,
how long are they going to be allowed to continue down this path, though, before they either split them up or otherwise ruin it? Because if they start getting popular, in spite of the fact that they're not really given anything, then you know what happens then. As soon as Michael Cole starts telling you, the social outcast, that's so much fun. Look how much fun they're having in the ring, King. It's over.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, 3MB actually lasted a pretty damn long time.
But 3MB wasn't really over with anyone other than the people who sit in the front row at events.
Yeah, I don't know. If they keep a low enough profile and, you know, stay entertaining enough to, stay employed, I think they could actually have a fairly decent lifespan. Especially if and when the New Day turn face and they need some other group of weird heels to beat all the time.
They have to keep flying under Vince McMahon's radar until that spot opens up, I think. And then if they just reach up there and grab that New Day-shaped brass ring.
That's going to be a really weirdly shaped ring.
I think it's something like the shape of a trombone. So, here's a talking point from NXT. Austin Aries is here, and within maybe 1 minute of his debut, he gets baroned.
Well then.
Yep.
Do we have a problem with that, or do we think he's just going to crush Baron Corbin and then move on to things we care about?
I mean, I feel like this is probably going to lead to like an Aries Corbin match at TakeOver, which will have an Aries victory, because Baron Corbin is currently that heel that loses to every top face in NXT.
Yeah. I do kind of love that, like, part of Baron Corbin's gimmick now is his weird obsession with hating guys who come in from the indies.
Mm-hmm.
Because they keep beating him. Samoa Joe beat him. Finn Balor beat him. Apollo Crews. Well, Apollo Crews didn't beat him, but Apollo Crews, I think, showed that he was just as good as him. And considering that Corbin's character is that he's this kind of entitled jock douchebag, it should make perfect sense that he doesn't really understand the world outside of the WWE universe, and that you can get really good from being outside of it. It's like, so every time somebody shows up and beats him, it's like, what the fuck is going on? These losers are coming in, and on their very first match they're beating me? No. And so now, here comes another guy from the indies, another internet darling, and before he even has a chance, Corbin is just like, no, you don't. You are not going to beat me.
I don't know, if I was Baron Corbin, I would just hide. And maybe start picking fights with Mojo or someone like that.
Yeah.
It's got to be the safer option. So, anything else notable from NXT this week?
Oh man.
I only saw the first half of the most recent NXT thus far, but to my understanding, the Balor Neville match was pretty good.
It should be. It's Balor and Neville.
Could you put a bad match together out of the components of Balor and Neville?
The components of them? I don't know. If you, like, disassembled them and put their organs in the ring or something, that would probably be a bad match.
I don't know.
I suppose.
It would be watchable.
Yeah.
You want to see which part of Neville is the gravity-defying part.
Yeah, there's
Like,
just like a
it's
kidney
just
that's like
close to the
Some kind of gland he has that is immune to the effects of gravity. Maybe if you took all of Finn Balor's organs and spread them all over the ring, you'd find out which ones are actually demonic as well.
Actually, the discussion of dissecting Neville and Finn Balor reminded me of another news item.
Okay.
I'm not sure we want to hear about that one.
So, recently, in an interview, Kevin Nash announced that due to his own history of concussions, which apparently includes like problems with his short-term memory, he'll be donating his brain and spine to medical science upon his death.
Well, that's nice of him. It's so weird. Like, I really, really hated Kevin Nash when he was a wrestler because he was such a tool behind the scenes. But now that he's gone and he's away from wrestling, it's like, you know what? He's actually a pretty cool guy.
Now that he is no longer able to personally benefit from being in the ring, then you can see, the rest of him.
Yeah.
I did hear, by the way, that he tried to donate his quads as well, but they turned those down. Weren't interested.
Do we have anything else for the week?
We do not.
I will just say one more thing. This week's Lucha Underground had one of the best ladder matches I have ever seen.
I still need to watch that.
King Cuerno against Phoenix for the Gift of the Gods. Holy shit, it is good. So go watch that. Tonight they're doing a triple threat for the Lucha title with Pentagon Jr. against Prince Puma against Mil Muertes.
Rumor has it that Mr. Poit is in the process of catching up on Lucha Underground.
My plan is that this weekend I will purchase season 1 on iTunes and start binging.
That's a good lad.
A good lad indeed. So, Mr. Poit, are you comfortable in your chair right now?
Hold on. No crowd chants or commentary? I do have one line.
Oh, do you? Well, go
Yes.
nuts.
Now, you may recall a couple of weeks ago, I complained during our crowd chants and commentary section about Michael Cole's line after Brie Bella hit her finisher, the Bella Buster, on at Fastlane. And Michael Cole said at Fastlane, "Oh, face first."
He did.
Now, perhaps more significant was this week on Raw when Lana used Brie Bella's finisher on Brie Bella. To which Michael Cole said, "Face first goes Brie."
He doesn't even care.
I think it was JBL who had to remind him that that was Brie's finisher.
Well, if the one move you don't know is Brie Bella's finisher, I think you can do all right as a commentator. Sadly, there's probably a lot of other moves he doesn't know as well.
Probably.
Any others?
That's all I took note of.
Yeah, I didn't make any notes of any this week. It was a bit bland on the commentary side, I thought, this week. So, Mr. Poit, are you sitting comfortably?
I am.
Are you armed with a beverage?
I am.
Well, would you like to dispense your social media goodness?
Well, as ever and always, I would like to do a quick shout out to our friends over at the Game Buoy video game podcast, your stop left of center, gaming news and views. In addition, we invite you to give us your thoughts, suggest talking points of your own, and tell us what you thought of the week in wrestling by posting comments on this video, by tweeting at us at Tables Ladders, or by replying to our posts on Facebook. We also ask that you follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and share our posts. Rate us and subscribe on iTunes, and shop on Amazon.com using our affiliate link. All of these links can be found on our Podbean page, tablesladderspodcast.podbean.com.
With that, all that remains to be said is TLP, everybody.
TLP, everybody.
TLP, everybody.